All right, guys, this is an official Branch ImPACT Zoom call. I cannot believe that we are on July 3rd. Everyone's lying so that way we don't hear anybody else. It is July 3rd. We are into the biggest month of the summer. It's really cool that we've made it this far. And I first want to acknowledge everybody who is on this call. I also want to acknowledge everybody who's made it this far so far in the summer, because as you realize, Branch is no small task. It is no small animal. It is definitely something that's challenging, but it makes you grow so much in the process. So I challenge you, if you're not feeling like you're on top of your game, just realize what you have accomplished and take yourself out of vector for a second. I know we don't like to compare each other, but go ahead and compare yourself to some of the other 18, 19, 20-year-olds out there who are, spending their summer lifeguarding or waitressing. What you are doing for your future is so powerful, and I want you to recognize that, and I want you to feel good about that. So before we jump into the content of tonight's call, I did want to go ahead and quickly recognize some of our national sales leaders from this past week. I normally put it in a video in the Branch ImPACT Facebook page, but I figured since we're going to be on this call, I would just shout everybody out on this call. So we're going to start from the bottom up. We have, I think it's 8 people on the national newsletter this week, which is really exciting. We got number 16, Nathan Alvarado from Northern Kentucky in the Kentucky-Ohio division in the Midwest region with a sales report of 13,023. Right after him, we've got Miranda McAllister out of Somerville and Coastal Division in the Eastern region. She's one of our newer people, part of the Branch ImPACT program. She had a sales report of 13,250. Number 14, we've got Everett Burns out of Easton, Pennsylvania in the Northeast region with a sales report of 14,005. Then we have number 13, Miroslava Sarosa, another newcomer into our group from High Point in Carolina division out of the Eastern region with a sales report of 14,890. Number 12, you have Marina McIntosh in Manchester, New Hampshire in the Northern New England division from the Northeast region with a sales report of 15,135. Number 11, Jeremiah Williams out of Treasure Coast in the Florida Atlantic division in the Eastern region, another newcomer as well with a sales report of 15,367. Then we have number 10, Alexander Sadovnikov in Cape Cod, Massachusetts from the Northern New England division in the Northeast region. The sales report of 17,421. So we have 16 through 10 from our program on the national sales report. And then we have number 2, Mr. Dylan Foley out in Stamford and Greenwich, Connecticut with an incredible sales report of 33,289 CPO. So Dylan is definitely leading the pack. He's been consistently leading the pack throughout the summer. If you haven't gotten the chance to reach out to him and learn from him, I highly recommend doing that. He is rocking and rolling out there in Stamford, Connecticut. But that is the national sales report, guys. 1 week can change everything. Your pop weeks are still totally possible as we head into SC2. 10K, 20K, 30K weeks, they are still totally in your grasp. And as always, if you need help planning that out, I'm available for a call at any time. All right, so let's jump into tonight's Branch ImPACT call. The title of tonight's call is Driving Demo Creation. And the reason why I chose to have this call tonight was because last week I was looking at reports and I was noticing that a lot of offices were handing in like 2, 3, 5, less than 10 orders a week while you have teams of more than 10 people. And I understand that sometimes it can be difficult to get people to sell, but the reason why we're having this call tonight is that we can talk about how to motivate a team to increase the number of demos created, to increase the number of sales that come in, and ultimately to increase your sales report. And we have 2 or 3 really awesome panelists tonight who are fired up to speak with all of you. We've got Gina Nappi. She's a new DM out in Somerset County, New Jersey, part of the Prime Division. Actually, everyone's part of the Prime Division, which is pretty cool. We have Darren Gabin out of Rockland County, New York, also part of the Prime Division. He's also a new DM. And then we have a veteran DM, a Silver Cup winner, Bryan Scudiere, who is the DM of, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking, White Plains, New York, also in the Prime Division. So these 3 rock stars had their teams hand in a ton of orders 2 weeks ago, and that's what inspired me to ask them to speak to all of you, especially Gina and Darren, because yes, they might be district managers, but they started the same time you did. So they are in the exact same boat as you are. They have slightly bigger territories. That doesn't mean that they have any more experience necessarily than you do. So I'm really excited to hear from all of them, but I did want to jump into a little bit of an intro here before we hear from our panelists. So I've talked to a lot of you guys just about the idea and the mentality going into July. So I want to encourage you, if you haven't already, to look at July and August as a clean slate. What happened in May and what happened in June, it happened. And there's nothing you can do, whether it was good or bad, but what you can focus on is getting a renewed sense of focus, a renewed sense of commitment, and a renewed sense of why it is that you are doing this. So look at July and August as a clean slate. And what if you chose to look at these next 2 months as if you were a senior branch manager? You know, you've learned so much in the last 2 months. You've learned what works and what doesn't work. And I'm sure there's times where you have said to yourself, if I were to do this all over again, I would do it a lot differently. Well, you can start to implement some of the things that you would do differently now. You can start to show up every day like a senior branch manager. You can start having more powerful conversations. You can start doing all of these things from a clean slate perspective, from a renewed focus, from a renewed passion for what it is that you're doing. And again, July is our biggest month of the summer, guys. So there's a lot coming your way, and just remember that. How would it feel to add an additional $50,000 to $100,000 onto your summer sales report? For some of you, you're going to add an additional $150,000 onto your sales report. So much is still absolutely possible in these next 2 months. And I want to also challenge you, have you sat down and revisited your goals? So maybe when you launched your office in April, your goal was $500,000, and nobody could tell you otherwise. Right now, you're at $30,000 in sales. And so maybe $500,000 isn't realistic, but you can still hit 125, 150. You can still hit 200,000 if you really commit to it. Have you actually sat down and revisited your business plan? Have you refocused forward? I really recommend that you take a morning, whether it's Sunday morning, tomorrow afternoon, whatever it might be, and spend a couple hours just replanning these next 2 months. Allow yourself to feel a renewed sense of direction and purpose. Have you thought about your SC2 goal for your team? Have you thought about your SC2 goal for yourself? Have you looked at your team from an individualized point of view? So what I mean by that, and this is something that I worked with David and Mortegi on today in our coaching call, but have you looked at each active representative and projected what could be possible for each and every one of them during SC2? So let's say, make the numbers really easy, you have a team of 10 people and your goal for SC2 is $50,000. Now, what a lot of people would do is to break that down on an average basis and say, okay, everybody needs to do $5,000. However, you know that you have some people on your team that are capable of a lot more than $5,000, and you have some people on your team who have been around for the last 2 months and haven't sold more than $1,000. So chances are expecting that person to sell $5,000 isn't as likely, or isn't as, I wouldn't even say fair, but it isn't as smart as expecting the person who's already sold $5,000 to do a lot more than that. So I challenge you to sit down and look at your team from an individual perspective and actually critically think, okay, what is this person capable of doing? And by the way, do not discount that person who's only sold $1,000 in the last 2 months. You know, if you have a powerful conversation with them and you really sit down and PC them, there are chances that they could totally light it on fire. But hey, even if they only sell another $1,000 during SC2, that could be the difference between you hitting number 1 trophy, number 5 trophy, whatever it might be. So just think about your team from an individualized perspective. Thinking about your current SC2 goal, by the way, how confident are you on a scale of 1 to 10 in making that goal happen? You know, what would you need to do to raise your number by 1 point? So let's say you're thinking about your SC2 goal with $75,000, and you're thinking about your current team, you're thinking about your next 2 recruiting classes, you're thinking about your own personal sales, and you come out to be at like, I don't know, a 6 out of 10 confidence level. Well, what would you need to do? What conversations would you need to have? What workshops would you need to run to get your confidence from a 6 to a 7 or from a 7 to an 8? It's probably not that much, but have you actually thought about that? What could you do to raise that number? And again, I want to say over and over again, a lot of magic can happen in July and August, especially now that you're making flat 50. If you haven't gotten excited about that, you really need to refocus on what some of the things that are exciting. And I actually, this morning, I went over some of the reports from last summer just to see, where were people at going into July, and what were they able to do in July, and where did they end up at the end of the summer? And there were some really incredible results. So I'm going to run through them very quickly for you, and then we're going to jump into the content of the call. So Anthony Hayes, who's actually been a featured panelist on some of our calls. He was a 2017 branch manager in Santa Monica, California. His team did 32.8 thousand between May and June. He then popped out an 82.5K July and finished the summer at $181,000. Jonah Wiley, a 2017 branch manager out in Goldsboro, North Carolina, had a 34K May and June combined. He popped out a 57.8K July, which really isn't that big, guys, and he finished the summer at 107 grand. Kenny Bagalos, who's a local district manager right now, a lot of you know who he is. He was a branch manager last summer in Essex, New Jersey, had a 37K May and June, popped out a 34K July. So not a very big July, but gained momentum and still finished out the summer at $108,000 in sales. Kristen Ali, senior branch manager in Valley Stream, New York in 2017, actually my old territory. She had a 44K May and June, had a 59.7 July, and finished the summer at $106,000. So guys, a 100K mark is still totally doable for you. John Shaudell, who was a 2017 branch manager in Jersey Village, Texas, had a 48K May and June combined, had a 101K July, and finished the summer just shy of $200,000 with the sales report of 197.3. Dennis McGrath, another local branch manager for the Midwest region. He was a branch manager in Fairfield, Ohio, 52K May and June, 67K July, and finished the summer at $156,000. Robert Alcantara, 2017 branch manager in Troy, Michigan, 62K May and June, 74K July. So as you can see, guys, the trend here is that people typically double their sales, if not do more, in July. And Robert had a 74K July and finished the summer at $163.8 thousand. And then Joseph Cost, I'll just shout him out because he is on the call here. He was a 2017 branch manager in Hickory, North Carolina, 77K May and June, so he crushed it. Had 116K July and finished the summer at $222,000. So what does that come down to? And we're going to hear a lot about that in the rest of our call, but it comes down to a renewed commitment, relaxed intensity, positive anticipation, proper management of team and self. You want to reset your expectations and standards with your team if you haven't already. Action-oriented PCs, PDIs, and getting them to events. Strong communication with your team. If you haven't done PDI all summer, you can start doing PDI. If you haven't been doing outgoing PDI, you can start doing outgoing PDI. Heavy emphasis on scheduling, making sure that your reps know what it takes to actually hit their goals. And of course, lead by example. Now you have the chance to show your team really what it's like to sell at a high level. That's going to inspire a lot of people. And then finally, always incorporate fun. And you're going to hear from our panelists tonight a little bit about what they do in their office to build a really fun culture. I'm lucky enough to be part of Gina's group me for her office, and they just love to have fun. And it's really cool to see that. So that being said, we're going to jump right into our panel. We've got, like I said, Bryan Scudiere. He's a Silver Cup district manager out in White Plains, New York. We have Gina Nappi, a new DM, top 5 in the nation out in Somerset County, New Jersey. And then we have Darren Gabin, also a new DM, very quickly climbing the ranks of the Silver Cup race. So Gina, you better watch out. And he is the new DM out in Rockland County, New York. So without further ado, we're going to turn it over to our panelists. And we're going to start with Bryan Scudiere. Bryan, I've got a first question for you. All right. So since you're our most seasoned manager on this panel, and from what you've told me, demo creation hasn't always been your strong suit. So can you walk us through what has been your biggest lesson, having run multiple summers of offices in regards to inspiring reps to maximize their schedule?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I just want to say thanks for having me on the call. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely.
So what I've realized is that it's all about the level of expectation that you create from either day 2 or day 3 of training. I typically talk about making sure that representatives are making phone calls every single day that they work. On day, it's like soft plugs, like, hey, you're going to be using this phone script every day, for your first 5 days of your fast start. So it makes sense to get good at it. And then on day 3, I teach them the expectations of how to crush their fast start. It means that not only are you doing demos every day, but you're creating demos every day. On my first weekend PDI, I always ask after every demo, it's like, all right, cool. How many phone calls have you made? And 99% of the time they're like, I haven't made any phone calls. It's like, that's part of the job, man. Like, it's expected that you should be making at least 5 phone calls after each one of your demos. So why don't we do this? I want to coach you through before your next demo, but you got to make 5 calls. Give me a call back. And that just sets up the expectation. On the first question I ask in advanced training, in my stat tracking sheet says, how many demos did you create this week? And one of the reasons why I do that is because I want them to know that I pay attention. When I'm doing outgoing PDI or incoming PDI, I'm always asking, how many demos do you plan on creating? When's your next little mini phone jam? Are you making 10, 20, or 30 phone calls? And if so, when are you making them by? So the goal is that they understand that phone calls are a part of the job, but you must inspect what you expect. So if you just expect for them to make calls, I promise you they never will. So you need to be checking them, right? And if they magically never create demos on their own, and they magically can never book any demos, have them screenshot their phone call log and have them text that to you. Okay? Only one time this entire summer did I catch somebody in a lie. And that actually ended up working pretty well. So make sure to inspect what you expect. That's really all I got.
Wow, that's a golden nugget right there. That is I love rhymes. I'm a big rhyme girl, and that's a fabulous rhyme to remember. So thank you so much, Bryan. That's amazing. All right, next question. Darren, I'm gonna go ahead and spotlight you now. So last week, or I guess it was actually 2 weeks ago now, you had a really standout week, and your team handed in 76 new orders. Your team totaled 26.7K in new biz. So for someone out there who's listening, who's on the verge of a breakthrough or a pop week, can you give a few pieces of advice as to how to properly set yourself up for success?
Yeah, so first, again, thank you for having me on the call. Really excited to be here. But yeah, it really just comes down to preparation the night before. So when I look at my schedule the night before and look at the main parts that I know I have to execute for, whether it's for the training, recruiting, PCs, or anything along those lines. So I set up my focus 5 to make the day before for the next day. So the next day I just wake up and I'm ready to go. And then I visualize myself executing everything. Not only me just doing it physically, but how I'm going to feel while I'm doing it and how I'm going to feel after I finish, when I'm done with that PC and when I'm done with the day 3 of training, and things of that nature. And then if you have a staff or a top rep, I'm always, delegating parts that, they can help me out with. And then I'm putting them on the spotlight, so they lead by example. So this past week, I had a rep named Dylan Goldstein who, I pretty much put on a spot, not only what his results, but also his activity. So, yeah, that really helped me out, because then the other people would start to chase his activity, not necessarily, trying to sell the homemaker all the time, but they make, 10 phone calls. That way they can book X amount of demos. And then finally kind of speaking into assistants. So creating that visual image also for my team, not just for myself too, because then they start to, believe and buy into it too. That's pretty much what I did to create that pop.
Cool. Okay. So I want to recognize one thing that you said that I think is really valuable. It's utilizing your sales leaders to acknowledge them and to recognize them in front of the team, so that it creates like a natural desire to be like them. And so another rhyme that I love, so I'm going to add the inspect what you expect to my knowledge, or my little library of rhymes. But another rhyme is to celebrate what you want to replicate. So whatever you want the rest of your team to do, celebrate the leaders on your team that are already doing it. So activity, results, coming into the office, phone jams, all of those kinds of things, and you're doing it already, Terrence. That's really awesome. Can you quickly talk about speaking it into existence? When do you do that? Do you do it PDI, team meeting, group me? When do you do that?
I actually do it from the very beginning of the interview. I talk about it, when people come into the office and they're interviewing me in the group section, when I'm talking about the team, I say how, great we are. Obviously, I don't go overboard, but I tell them, how we're competing at a national level and winning. And what makes us so great is because we're a great team, synchronized, kind of downplay a little bit. And then I bring it back up again in my day one intro talk. And day two, I do it again when I talk about experience, and then day three as well. And then in PDI, pretty much I always say, whether, you're a champion or, you're going to get there, it's going to happen, it's happening. You just, they don't know it yet, that you're number one rep, but you know it within yourself. You got to show everybody else. And I say things like that to them all the time, whether it's a PC, PDI, and during training, because then they start feeling really good about themselves and develop, that fake confidence, and eventually they pop. So.
Cool. So you basically have them visualize them being the number one rep even when they're not.
Yeah.
You create that expectation for them. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. All right, cool. Gina, you're up next, girlfriend. All right. So I'm fortunate enough to be part of your group me, like I mentioned before. And it's predominantly run by your sales leaders and your assistant managers, which I think is really unique and really cool. And it's also a major source of inspiration for the rest of your team in regards to hitting the newsletter and holding themselves accountable, going field training. So what specifically have you done or do you do to foster that team camaraderie where your leaders are holding your team accountable? You are too, obviously, but your leaders are really on the forefront of that.
Yeah, so one of the things that I really loved about being a pilot is that I was able to leverage Greg, and creating that dynamic in an office is so much more efficient, because then you can kind of manage through your development. They get excited because they get to work with the team as older siblings. Basically, throughout training, I'm talking up the assistant managers, and I'm talking about how Julian and Paige, they both had $12,000 fast starts. So when they walk in, the team that's sitting in training or the trainees are like, oh my gosh, you're Julian or you're Paige. I had them running morning workshops. This was a little bit of an experiment for me. That worked out well. I was commuting 50 minutes to my office. So to get there, stay late on a Wednesday, go out to team night out, and then get home at 12:30, 1 a.m., then get back to the office by 8. It was really difficult and it was draining my energy. So I asked them to help out with Thursdays and Fridays, and then it worked so well that we eventually moved into Saturdays too. But basically, I give contests, so I'll offer incentives, but they're teaching for 10 or so minutes, and then they run a workshop where they're literally driving it themselves by showing them how to phone. And it's nice because they leverage me. The more I talk them up, the more they're able to leverage me and use me as more of an authority. So I'm having all of the harder conversations, but they're more productive because they're saying, all right, let's make let's look good. That way when Gina walks in, like we have demos on the board. It's not like, I'm going to walk in and see nothing. So the reps want to make the AMs look good because they know I'm holding them accountable, and the AMs are having fun driving it. Another thing is just that they're incredibly compassionate and they're incredibly humble. So what I've noticed about Paige and Julian is in front of the trainees, they say, you can do what I did. It's not hard. It didn't take a skill set. It took demos and it took hard work, but anybody can work that hard. I just made the choice to. So listen to Gina. She'll tell you the schedule that you need. And then she kind of builds their confidence that way. Paige shares that her demo leaving training was her goal for a fast start leaving training was $2,000. She sold that in her first weekend, and that just boosted her confidence to keep going. So the team looks up to them and seeks to them for advice. And then when it comes to the hard accountability or the follow-up, I'm the one to follow up with that. But they're doing a lot of the PDI. They're running PCs, and they're pretty good at it. So they get energy from doing it, and I save energy from having them do it. So it's nice.
Okay. Can you take us back to the moment that you chose Julian and Paige? Because I'm sure some people on this call have people in mind who they would like to leverage and to make into leaders, but maybe they don't know how to have that proper conversation.
Yeah. Well, Julian originally used to piss me off because I literally had to tell him, Julian, stop trying to do my job. Because he was just taking too much. He was getting too involved. And I was like, dude, I love you, but I remember he pulled this kid aside who was having untraditional training. And he was supposed to be phoning and booking demos. And he's like, this is how you have a 10K fast start. And you do this, all these exciting things. And I'm like, but Julian, he left after 2 hours. He didn't have any demos booked. I was like, you need demos to implement all of that. So just like coaching them at the speed that they need to stay interested in what you have to teach them. So I always remind them to stay coachable. That way they can absorb as much of the information as I'm telling them. As soon as I saw that they were interested in the team more so than themselves, which they both were, that's when I promoted them. I promoted Paige right after a fast start. She came to a key staff meeting before she was even promoted to key staff. So getting them involved as soon as you can, because they get excited about that, as long as they're excited about what you're building. And then I just keep throwing stuff at them until they get overwhelmed, and then I take stuff back.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So, okay, we're going to go into rapid fire now. The way that rapid fire works, guys, just for our panelists, I'm going to ask a question, and we're just going to go in order. So we're going to go Gina first, Bryan second, Darren third. Okay? So first question is, obviously we know that phone jams are a key component to maximizing demo creation. So can you, Gina, please speak on how you create excitement around the phone jam and how you hold your reps accountable to showing up and hitting their goals?
One of the mistakes that I think a lot of reps make is organizing all of their materials at the phone jam. So I make sure that they all come in with a list of 30 numbers that they can call. We role play their approach once, and they pair up with somebody that they've never paired with before. So it's a way for the newer reps to meet the veteran reps, but also practice their approach right before they get on the phone. So that way their first call is with one of their team members. It builds their confidence. And then I also have them track via phone jam log, and then they hand in their log at the end of the jam. That way I can then hold them accountable in a PC or PDI, and I can see who made 11 calls and who made 45, because some people will make 45 and just have terrible luck. So having that way you can like give those people a high five and have the team cheer for them and like build their confidence and pride them on their action. So that way they don't leave the phone jam feeling like crap. I think so often we just assume that they didn't make enough calls, but you might be missing it a couple of the times. And that's it.
Cool. Question for you. When I came to visit your team meeting, I don't know whether you did this because I just brought books as a prize, but you did offer a prize for the first 2 people to make 10 phone calls. Do you normally do that, or is that just like a...
Mm-hmm. So Greg is what he told me to do that. It's either first to 5 demos booked. So you could promote first to 5. You can literally give away a vegetable peeler or a high five, like first to 5 gets a high five, or first to 5 gets $1. You could Venmo them $1 and have them turn their volume up so that way they get like the cha-ching and everybody hears it. But what I like to also I like to have a demo contest, and then I also like to have the action contests, just to recognize the people who are making 10 calls and who are going, because you want to ultimately produce action. You don't know if that first to 5 person is focusing more so on like texting a bunch of people at one time so that they get a lot of demos booked. So I like to do both.
Cool. Awesome. All right, Bryan, you're up. Do you need me to repeat the question?
Yeah, no, I mean, I got it. Me and Gina run an identical program. Yeah. She heard that I role played before my phone gyms, and she does that too. That's good. So we role play a lot. I actually role play. I don't do just one time. I don't think that one time's good enough. We do 3 times, and then we role play objections. So my arrival time is 5:30 to 6. At 6 o'clock, we're role playing. We role play for 20 minutes, and then I give a 15-minute kickoff meeting. I do team recognition. Hey, here's where we're at. Here's where we're going. Here's where we've been. This is our goal. And then I talk a lot about, how many demos we need to create for the week. So I tie in our sales goal to number of demos created. I write the number on the board. And recently, this is something new that I've done. I stole this from Gina, was the buddy system. And then I do a competition where, your team can get entered into a raffle for $50. But you have to average 10 demos. And the way that the purpose of that is my goal is to average 5 per head. So if I do teams of 2, you have to get 10 demos as a team to be entered into the raffle. So that way they average 5. And I had a kid where it was like one kid booked 6, the other one booked 4. They won the $50 and each won $25. I had one where one kid booked 8, the other kid booked 2, but it just happened to work out and they won. And I had one time where both kids booked 8 and they won. It just creates buddy systems, and they're not allowed to be buddies with one of their friends. So we have a huge PR thread going through my team. Everybody literally knows everybody. So everyone has like pockets of 5 and 6 friends just from my PR program. So you're not allowed to be buddies with the same kid from your town. And then, we always do a prize. It's always a good prize. I spend money on prizes. I don't do cheap little prizes. I think that the more exciting the prize, the more people are going to want to go for it. I've raffled off cleavers, K-bars, $50, $100, $50 gas card, $25 grocery cards. Try to get creative. And then team meeting themes.
Cool. All right, Darren, you're up.
Yeah. So what I do for mine, I have arrivals. They come in 30 minutes before the phone jam actually starts, and they have their schedules already set by the time the team meeting starts. Because I have my AMs help them make schedules, or they make their own schedules, and they have to hand it in to me by that time for it to count. And if everyone's on a schedule by the time I kick off the team meeting, we're allowed to finish the team meeting a little bit earlier because now nobody's wasting their time to get anything ready for the phone jam because they have schedules, names and numbers, and approaches already out. Another thing that I do to drive the phone jam, I leverage my top reps and my AMs and key staff to phone. They're not allowed to hide in a corner or sit all together. So I spread them out and they're driving demos, they're high-fiving people, they're creating energy. I told them they're the CEO, Chief Energy Officer. So their job is to drive, energy throughout the entire phone jam. And they're tallying it up and, again, high fives and making it fun. I have a little basketball hoop. Sometimes we shoot the ball around in the middle of the phone jam, just, for fun. I'm walking around with the ball and high-fiving people, making it as fun as possible. Because if they're enjoying as they're making phone calls, then they're going to make more phone calls. Then I also have my AMs, hold other people accountable, because if it's coming from me and I know someone's not funding a lot, it's not as powerful. But when it's coming from a top rep, it's hey man, you're not making that many phone calls. Then that person is gonna start making more phone calls, and it's coming from one of their peers. So I do that a lot. Whether I send one of the AMs or one of the top reps to hold somebody accountable, they do that. Another thing that I do is also show activity. That's what I promote during the phone jams. Not necessarily how many demos they booked. Sometimes I do that, but it's hey, this so-and-so has already made 10 phone calls. Where are you at so far? And of course, I hold this too. I'm trying not to overlap with Bryan, Gina here, but yeah, that's pretty much what I do to maximize the phone jams and make it fun.
Awesome. Cool. So some of the themes that I got from all of this, in case anyone there is taking notes, and this is such great information, but there were a couple of themes. Preparation, making sure that your reps are prepared coming into the team meeting, that they know they need to have 30 names and numbers, that their schedule needs to be, they need to have their schedule. Darren, I love that you have them hand in their schedule beforehand, so you know how many openings they have. And then I'm assuming you probably get another schedule at the end so that you know when they're doing their demos. Leveraging your team, leveraging your key staff, your assistant managers, so that they are the examples in the office. Obviously, having fun, contests, high energy, chief energy officer, all of that kind of stuff. And then, of course, recognizing activity. I think what Bryan said about letting the entire team know how many demos need to be created in order to hit the sales goal. Because, hey, you promote the sales goal, they know how much they're supposed to quote unquote sell, but when they see how many demos are created, they just get more tied into the activity and what the team needs to do. So that's great. All right, next rapid fire question. This kind of segues perfectly into it. What do you do to get your team tied into the office goal? In other words, how do you drive them to do more to benefit the office goal even after they might have hit their personal goal? Gina, you're up.
Okay, so we're really focused on like always being at your best, always creating your best week. So a lot of the focus is like beating their last week's sales report by Friday. So we had a girl this week, she did Sydney. I think I had her original goal at 2K for the week. She ended up finishing over 4,800, and it was just like full week. She's not in her fast start. Pretty much with those kids, I just focus on like, if you're having a great week, like if you're having great luck and you hit your goal by Thursday just because you had some big orders, like creating your best week because you had that luck this week. And I talked to them about like just maximizing their potential. The whole point of the job is to walk away saying that you pushed yourself and saying that you found not your limits, but you pushed your limits, you found your potential, you maximized on your potential. So if you have a big lead, and you just use it to take off the rest of the week, that's not really going to help you, nor is it going to teach you anything. Yeah, you'll get a good paycheck, but that's pretty much it. And most of the reason why we do what we do is not for the paycheck. The pay is just really nice. Maybe it's for the paycheck. I don't know. I also tie them into like their leadership, them being the rabbit that week being really important because it not only benefits them, but it also benefits the rest of the team from seeing them. I've had this problem with a couple people on my team just because they come from really good networks and they don't have to work. So the whole money motivation doesn't really yeah, it's nice for them. They like getting a comma, but once they have a comma, they're not really excited to go after like 2, 3, 4K. But what I'm telling them is like, help me win the silver cup. Like, do it for me. Please take it. Like, utilize your network. If for nothing else, this kid Victor on the team hates divisional events, he won't go to SC, like I'm fighting with him to go to the conference, but he loves the team. Like he comes into team meetings hyped. And I was like, please, Victor, if for nobody else, just hit your SC2 goal for me. Like make me look good. Like new managers don't do X, Y, and Z. He's like, all right, Gina, I'll do it for you. So some people don't get motivated by themselves or because they want to prove somebody wrong. Like you really have to find what it is and kind of use that. And some people will do things just for the sake of helping out the other people on the team or just for the sake of helping out your goals. So don't forget to share that with them. They're all excited about winning a silver cup. So.
Yeah, and I think that also comes down to Gina specifically being a really awesome manager from the start to the point where people naturally get excited about working with her and for her. She also, side note, has a team goal that if her office, once her office hits 200K, she's buying a puppy. So
his name is Walter. Everyone knows him already.
Walter!
No, he has an Instagram. Like everyone knows 200K is Walter. It's not just an office dog. Like we know what he looks like. He's an English bulldog. He's wearing bow ties. Wally is his nickname. You guys can come hang with us.
Oh, cool. Well, that's cool. All right, Bryan, you're up next.
Repeat the question for me.
Oh, so how do you get your team tied into the office goal? So how do you drive them to do more to benefit the office goal even after they've hit their personal goal?
Okay, so the way that I'm can constantly pushing kids to their next level is by never being surprised. So it's funny because Gina and Darren know that I get like up and I'm a very exciting person to be around. But when I do PDI, I'm the most emotionally flat person ever. I had a kid this past week sell $4,800 in one demo, and it was a lucky demo, and I knew it was some long shot type stuff. And I was like, all right, that's cool. How many phone calls did you make? And he was like, what? And he was like, I just sold 4,800. I was like, that's nice. How many demos have you created today? And I'm very emotionally flat, because what that tells them is that they're not done. The job is not to hit a sales target. The job is to either create 2 demos a day and complete 2 demos a day, or create 3 demos a day. So like, the job doesn't change just because you sold a lot. And I had a kid sell $11,000 in a week. It was his biggest week ever. He had like a $4,400 order and like 2 $2,000 orders. And every single time he called me, he was like, especially after he sold his second signature set in one day, he was like, dude, he's like, I'm having the week having the greatest week ever. And I'm just like, yeah. I was like, that's awesome, man. I was like, good thing it's only Friday. So how many demos do you have set up for tomorrow? And he would like, in my team, it's so funny how quickly they'll be like shocked. And then at the end of the week, he was like, yeah, I'm really glad that you pushed me for 10K. I was like, dude, you could easily have a 10K week. And it's all about how you communicate the goal, and how you communicate from the get. So if somebody has a big order, I'm never more excited than my reps ever. And I'm never more disappointed than my reps ever. I'm just always emotionally flat. And by doing that and holding them to the math, we have a saying in my office, live the math. If I hold you to the math, you can get a few lucky big orders, and that's awesome. You can have a big week because it's just your week this week. That's nice, but your job is to do 12 demos this week, regardless if you have 2 $2,000 orders. It's like, awesome, let's go after an 8 to 10K week then. Let's think bigger. Now you know what you're actually capable of.
Cool. I love that. Love it. Holding to the math. All right, Darren, you're up.
So mine is a little bit actually a combination of kind of like Bryan Scudiere and Gina. So I'm like, I tell them when I do my homemaker talk or post value builder talk, it's like, yeah, like honestly, like the first homemaker or the first big set that you sell, we'll get like excited, we'll high five, be the great PDI call, but that's only gonna last like 5 seconds, and then after that, I'm gonna tell you, let's do it again, because that's when it's really exciting, when you sell not 1 but 2, 3, 4, 5 homemakers. That's when we can start getting a little bit more excited. So they're already expecting that from me. From the first PDI call. And then, again, very similar to Bryan. It's like, awesome, yeah, you're off to a great start for the week. But, when is your next demo? When is your next phone time? And then, kind of like Gina, I also find what motivates them. So, for example, I have Zach Jacobs is actually sitting down right in front of me with me, listening in. He's one of my top assistant managers. I know what would have made him the most is him growing and learning. So one of the reasons why I had him sit in this course is for him to, keep kind of growing and learning. So I'm always teaching him, finding something new to teach him, putting him in a new spot, challenging him. And then I have, Dylan, who's not really he's not necessarily money motivated. He just likes being, recognized all the time. So I'm like, dude, if you want to get recognized, you got to do more demos. If you want to get recognized, you want to sell more. So I find what motivates them. Other people want to be, leaders. It's like, cool, leaders lead by example in this office. So if you want to be a leader, this is what you got to do. And then I tell them how important they are on a one-on-one conversations too. So it's like, hey, listen, no matter what position you hold, whether you're selling 2K a week every week or 4K a week, it doesn't really matter because your activity impacts other. It's kind of like the energy, it's the vibe, right? So whatever energy you're bringing in, that's that energy that's going to bounce off of everybody else. So what kind of example you want to set? And then they bring out their own answers. And I use that to get them to, fight for the bigger goal. So that's what I do.
Cool.
Can I add one last thing?
Yeah, sure.
So there's a difference between constantly pushing them and then also giving them a break. So you got to know who you can push and you got to know who you can't push. So, you got to pay attention to kind of like your relationship. So the reason why I want to point out the one fundamental thing that I know Darren and Gina have, because they're in my division and I know that I have, is I have a very strong and deep-rooted relationship from multiple PCs before like a kid calls me and I'm like, all right, great. How many demos do you have? Because if you don't seem grateful or proud of them, then you're going to lose them like that. So like take a moment, your first couple times where they have those big orders, where you're like, hey dude, that's super cool, man. I'm really proud of you. That's awesome. Don't have like, oh my God, you sold, oh my God, that's crazy. But like, take a moment with them, their first couple demos where they get those bigger orders, and just know when to push and know when to back off, and know, like, even on like some of the off days, like I had a girl go literally 0 for 3 today, and I was like, you're not allowed to make a phone call till you go get ice cream. I was like, go get ice cream right now. Okay. And you're not allowed to get on the phone until after that. And know when to like, just kind of like cut them a break and remind them how much you care about them as people before you just care about their sales report. So I just want to highlight that because it's fun to do all this stuff and be like, oh, when's your next demo? Is your children. Like, you need to love them, right? So I just want to add that one.
Yeah, that's a really valuable point. And Brenna, I appreciate you jumping in and saying that, because it really does come down to building that initial trust and that relationship where they really do, like, they want to call in and they want to work with you because you have recognized that, you know, they're doing well, they're doing a good job. And then when you build that trust with them, pushing them, it becomes a lot easier and it becomes a lot more accepted on their behalf too. So next question, I'm going to rephrase it a little bit differently than what I had sent out to you guys in the questionnaire. I want to just know, how do you manage your newer reps? So let's talk specifically about maybe like 18, 19-year-olds who might not fully understand the idea of a flexible schedule, might not fully understand what a jam-packed week looks like, whereas you have more seasoned reps who have gotten it down, worked with them, but specifically the newer reps. Talk to me about like maybe your scheduling PCs that you have with them, or your certain PCs that you have with them to really set the expectation of doing a lot of demos. So Gina, you're first.
Okay, cool. So I am a lot easier on the newer reps, and we always talk about what time they have with family, what time they have with friends. I explain why that the job is as consistent as they are. So if they have consistent habits, they're going to have consistent results every single week. And the way that we avoid taking advantage of the flexibility is by putting in their givens and then putting in demos. That way, when they're with their friends and they're hanging out, that way when they're on their demos, they're not stressed out. You know, when am I seeing my friends? When am I seeing my family? Like, all of that is in their schedule. But also, if they're hanging out with friends Thursday night, they're going to Thirsty Thursday. I literally tell them in my interview, I don't care if you have Thirsty Thursday in your schedule. I am not your mom. I'm not here to tell you how to prioritize your time, but I'm going to help you maximize your time and manage it so that you can still get a sick paycheck, while making sure that you can go out and fully enjoy your time with your friends. Not only do I want you to be present in demos, but you don't want to be hanging out with your friends on a Thursday night, freaking out about having no demos Friday and Saturday, panicking, stressing. What am I going to say to Gina? I went out drinking instead, like feeling guilty. I want them to feel like they are fully present, not concerned about Cutco at all. That way, when they're off, they're not thinking about work at all. They know their work is already set up for them when they're ready to come back. And also so that when they do take off after taking a little bit of a break, it doesn't set them up to take, like, instead of 1 to 2 days off, it's like 4 or 5 days off, and then they get lazy and complacent. So I just frame all that in for them, starting in the interview. Then we go through scheduling. And then in their first scheduling PC, I explain why it's really important for me to see their friends in their schedule.
Cool. Awesome. All right, Bryan, your turn.
So if I have a newer rep, you know, a lot of the expectations that I have are things that I set up in my interview, and I set them up in my day 1 of training, day 2 of training, day 3 of training. I talk a lot about the flexibility and how, like, you can take fun days off and things like that. And I talk a lot on the first PC the day after. And I didn't do this my first 2 summers. And I used to lose kids like that. Like, they'd go out, sell $2-3 grand, and bam, be right out, because they'd be like, oh my God, I got to work every day.
Wait, really quickly, Bryan, you cut out for a quick second. I think you talked about just the idea of fast start being a lot of work, but What was it in your first PC?
I'm sorry?
What do you specifically say to them in your first PC?
The first PC is I walk them through what a fast start schedule would look like. And, I have them, if I can tell, like, based on just like their energy level, when I kind of highlight what a fast start PC would look like, or what the fast start looks like, if they're like, holy crap, like I don't want to do that, I'm very quick to be like, so which day during the week are you taking off other than Wednesday? And like, it all depends on how sensitive they are. If they're the type of kid who looks at the schedules like, yeah, that sounds good, I'm trying to make $1,000 this week, it's like, all right, let's roll. But what I've learned is like, okay, cool. Like if you got a kid who's just sitting there like this, if you're like highlighting all the demos they're going to do in their phone time and their like eyes are getting wider and they're like, yeah, this sounds great, and you can tell that they're not really buying into it, then you need to be like real fast to be like, cool, so what day are you taking off during the week? Or like, when do you have family time? Gina did a great job talking about like asking about their friends, asking about their girlfriend. And if you're not taking good notes on like who has a girlfriend and what their girlfriend's name is and things like that, like that's huge. Whenever I call a rep that has a girlfriend, I'm like, oh, hey, how's Katie doing? How's Erin doing? I just asking means and goes so far. So relationship, trying to get some one-on-one time with them, and trying to really get to know them in the beginning, because I want to be able to push them later, but that only comes if they're bought into me as a person and they want to work for me. Biggest thing too is if they do want to take a day off, which I actually found that when I put it on the table, most kids turn it away, which is kind of nice. I thought it was going to go the other way around. Thought everyone would be like, yeah, cool, I'll take a day off. But most kids are like, yeah, no, I'm good. Like I'm willing to work my first 10 days. As soon as I offer a day off, if they do bite, I teach them, okay, so this is how you take days off. And I use it as a great way to teach them, like, you always have 3 or 4 demos, whether you're on, whether you're trying to do 2 demos a day or 3 demos a day, you always have 3 or 4, because if you're going to take the day off, you got to make up for it. And you never want to show up. You never want to wake up on the day after you take a day off without having demos in your schedule. So we'll add a little bit of extra phoning time the day of. It's like, hey, work 1.5 times as hard the day before you take a day off. So you take a day off so you can work half as hard the day when you get back.
I love that. That's really good. Okay, cool. Darren.
Yeah, so very similar to Bryan and Gina. It all starts really, from the beginning when I'm going over schedules in the interview, and then again, day 1. And then I do day 2 PCs when I'm running. I pull them out where there's either me or one of my assistant managers, and we talk about schedules. One of the questions that I ask before I even dive into schedules is like, what are you most excited about? What you're most nervous about? And that's kind of how I cater the rest of the day 2 PC, which is really quick. If they're really excited, it's like, yeah, I can't wait to start doing a lot of demos and making a lot of money. I know already, it's like, cool. This is why this max out schedule, you'll probably like this. If someone's like, yeah, I'm kind of scared, like I'm not sure how much I'm going to sell and things like that. Now I know that person a little bit. Now I know to be a little bit more conservative with that person when I do talk about schedules. And I work schedules backwards. So I'm like, cool. So what are you doing this weekend that's like absolutely you cannot miss that out on? You have to do like concerts or beach days that you plan out for months or things like that. And also ask, about significant others too. And if they do have days off, I do make sure that, they take the proper day off, and I paint the picture for them. So it's like, imagine if you take a day off and it accidentally turned into 2, and then you're not happy how much money you made by the end of the week because you didn't have any demos set up. So for you to enjoy your day off, you gotta have demos set up the day after, off your day off. That way you're not stressing about it like during your day off. It's like, oh my God, I have no demos, and then that's not really a day off anymore. And I paint that picture for them, and they're like, oh yeah. But that's pretty much it. Everything else I also do, what Gina and Bryan does already too. So
awesome. All right, guys. So we're coming up with the 9 o'clock hour. I still have a lot of questions, but I want to respect everybody's time. So I'm going to make one quick teaching point, and then I'm going to ask one final question for Darren and Gina, because Bryan had to jump off, and then we'll open it up for like 5-10 minutes of Q&A. But good news is they're part of the Branch Impact page. So if you have any questions that don't get answered, you can just tag them in a question on the Branch Impact page. But really quickly, when you're working with new reps, it comes down to individual conversations and scheduling. We oftentimes forget that these reps have not been vectorized yet. They don't really get the job yet, and they've never had a job like this before. So although, yes, you probably have a PC with them during their first phone jam to walk them through their first 10 demos, which are they're seeing the best 5 people, whatever, don't think that's good enough. They need to be held hands. They need to be walked with until they're ready to run. So make sure there are multiple times throughout your fast start, they're sitting down with you and you are helping them manage their schedule. Until they truly feel confident in understanding how to manage your schedule, you need to be having these conversations with them. So if I were you, and let's say I'm running a 3-day training, I'd have a PC with them on day 2 to manage their schedule from day 3 to advanced training. So those 3 days, I would get them to put 10 to 15 demo slots on there, and I'd make sure they know they're calling their first or their best 5 to 10 people. Then at advanced training, during the phone jam, I'd have a second PC with them to talk to them once again about their next couple days with their demos and make sure that they are maxing out their schedule, getting 10 to 15 demos between advanced training and team meeting. And at their first team meeting, you do this PC again with them and you help them manage their final 4 days of their fast start. And in that PC, you schedule a post fast start PC where they will come into the office on day 10, 11, or 12, and you will talk to them about a more set schedule and more relaxed summer schedule, what their expectations are and their goals are, and you will once again help them set their schedule. So don't think that just one conversation with them is good enough, because it never is. You have to repeat yourself 87 million times. I have to repeat myself with branches all the time too. You know, we just have to hear things over and over again. So make sure you're constantly managing your new rep schedule through individual conversations. Okay, last question for Gina and Darren. Since we are moving into the biggest month of the summer, and since your teams are starting to become totally stacked with studs and you're excited about these people, what are some things that you are doing, whether it's PCs, all day Sunday fun day phone jams, contests, all those kinds of things? What are you doing to truly maximize the potential for your team in SC2? Gina, you're up first.
Oops. Okay. So just having a lot of fun on I'm unmuted. The Sunday Fun Day phone jam. Well, what we've done pretty well is like promoting SC2 for the last month or so since SEC. So our team is already pretty synergetic, but now we've kind of like translated that into push excitement. They're all really competitive and they're just really excited about big SC2 goals. I wouldn't have like guessed that half of them would be going after the goals that they're going after. So don't underestimate your team as number one. Make sure they're picking their goal. And one of the most discouraging things my first summer was when I looked at my manager and I was like, I want to have a 20K SC2. And I'd only sold 6K, I think, up until that point. So he was like, cool, but like, how are you going to do? And like the way that he responded automatically like decreased my expectations of myself. I was like, if he doesn't think I could do that, like I probably can't. And I hit like just over 10K. Whereas if I was shooting for 20 the whole time, like regardless, but I make sure that I don't set that up for my reps. So I'm excited about what they're doing. And then I'm going over schedules with them for our Sunday Fun Day Jam. Paige, my assistant manager, goes, okay, it's 8 to 8. And I was like, no, Paige, it's 9 to 9. I'm not coming in at 8. She was like, I'll be here at 8. I'm opening the office. And I was like, whoa, okay, that's fine. She was like, can I run a workout class? I was like, I guess. So she's probably going to have like something funny to like increase everyone's energy, but I plan on having like energy drink flip cup, like water pong where they get to shoot the ball if they make a demo. And then underneath the solo cups, we'll have like prizes. So silly prizes, you can make anything a prize. It could be a hug, it could be a high five, but like put some fun ones in there. That way they feel like they can get lucky. You can do like a money bag where you take 50 singles and like crumple them up and like put it into a bag. And then you throw in like 120 and 110, a couple fives, and crumple it up so it looks like a lot more, and they get to reach in once they get 10 demos booked. They might only get $1, but they're going to get excited. So just making your phone jams as exciting as possible. The third phone jam of SC2, so the last one, usually what I've seen is that people are excited about the last week, but they usually have the least amount of energy going to that jam. We're actually going to be at Amy Manzelli's office in Mahwah, New Jersey, phoning with our division. So making it a divisional event, maybe you go to a different office, like why not? Or maybe you have another office at your office. Maybe you Skype in with another office. Maybe it's an office out of state that you're friends with. Just getting really creative. That way they know that these phone jams are unlike any other phone jam, because this time is unlike any other time. And making sure that they know about the group goals, as well as how important their goal is to the group. So if they're going after a $15,000 goal, that's $15,000 off of your or on your report for your overall goal. So you should have an overall goal. This way it gives them another incentive to go after it, not just for doing it for themselves, but also because they know that the team is counting on them. And that's pretty much what and also like getting them excited about building the team. Recruiting is not over. It is so simple to do triple play. I went on like Flyer, the app, and made like a cool thing. And I was like, all right, during the team meeting, I didn't even do a PR talk. I didn't have time. So I was like, everyone, I just sent something in the group me, open it up, show me that you have it open, save it to your camera roll, and then post it on your Instagram story and show me your screen. Like I was just very instructional on it, and they all did it, and we created applications that way. I think we created 10 applications in a matter of 12 hours just by posting in Instagram and Snapchat stories. So don't forget to recruit, as much as promoting the push for sales is a lot of fun.
Totally. Cool. Thanks, Gina. All right, Darren, what about you?
Oh, can you repeat the question one more time, Mike?
Yeah, since we're going into the biggest month of the summer, obviously you have a team right now that are probably, you have some studs on them, you're still recruiting, but how are you really getting people tied into their SC2 goals and really driving, doing a lot of activity, taking it to the next level, handing in orders left and right? Like, what are you specifically doing to drive that?
Awesome. So my team is also very competitive like Gina's. Actually, it's just, I'm using Gina. That's one of my answers. I'm competing against, you find somebody to compete against with, someone that you're within reach, but they're also going to push you. So that's, for me, that's Gina. We finally beat her. My team was really, really excited about that. And then this week she beat me, and my team was like, all right, that's not happening again. Also, I've been promoting SC2 since I opened up my office. I was fortunate enough that I returned to my branch territory, and I was able to get back a couple of reps who became assistant managers, and they were talking about SC2 since the beginning. So it's everything that we've been getting ready for. It's why we have been working so hard all summer, and things of that nature. So they're really just bought into just being the number one, or really bringing the best, and then hopefully ending up number one. Because the competitive nature behind it, so they're bought into that, and also again visualizing what would it be to be part of a team that gave it their all. Tell two stories. It's like, what story you want to tell yourself? Do you want to tell yourself that you kind of gave up, and that's what happened, and you're okay with that, or that you gave it your best, and no matter what happened, you're really satisfied with it? Which one is going to feel better at the end of the day? Because I'll be honest, guys, the number really doesn't matter. Because for some people, the push means selling 10K. For some people, it's selling 5K. It's really how much work and are you bringing your best every single day. And that's that's our challenge. And they're really they have really bought into that. And they're obviously they want to sell, like all of them want to sell like 20K. I'm like, all right, guys, let's come back to reality. But they just want to bring their best and beat Gina. So that's also exciting too. Find somebody you want to beat.
I love that. Okay. I want to make one quick point on what they both said. There's a common theme. It's just getting people really excited about this time period. This is the playoffs, and the SC2 contest is the Super Bowl of the summer. So getting them hyped about this whole new level of energy, coming at them with a whole new refocused excitement, whole new refocused commitment, all of those kinds of things. And of course, getting them tied into the overall office goal by showing them how they're going to play a role in that. But don't forget that if they are going after a big goal, they need to have a commitment to the actions, not the results. Because I know for me, when I was going after a 20K SC2 push, I committed to the actions, which for me was phoning every day, phoning in the morning, in the night. My goal was to do like 8 demos a day. And I remember my Sunday Fun Day phone jam, I did 300 phone calls from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and I scheduled 3 demos. Had my manager not done a good job of really getting me committed to the actions as opposed to the results, it would have been easy for me to pull back and say, this isn't for me, there's no way this is happening. But lo and behold, he had me commit to the actions because he knew based on averages and loving the math and trusting the math that if I had a really crappy phone jam on one time, doesn't mean that I'm going to have a crappy phone jam or a crappy push the rest of that push period. And by the way, guys, I went back that next phone jam that Monday morning and I booked up like 11 demos off of 25 phone calls. So make sure that your reps are tied into the actions first, results second. That being said, we are wrapping up the content portion of tonight's call. If you have a question, feel free to write in the chat group. I have a question and we will direct it to you. So anyone have questions, please use the chat and we'll put the screen on you. All right, Zach, I'm gonna find you here. All right, what is your question? Make sure to unmute yourself.
I'm not muted right now, okay. So my question is, anyone feel free to answer this, primarily directed towards Gina and Darren, but I have a lot of guys, like I on my team, only one of my guys doesn't have another job. Like all my reps are either working other full-time jobs or other part-time jobs. So my PCs with them, obviously, like I know not to try to make a rep go from like who normally only does 7 demos a week to ask them to start doing like 30. But what talks are you having like to try and get them to go after 10, 12, 15 demos, trying to maximize their schedule even more for SC2 to get them going further for the push?
Darren, which one do you want to answer?
Yeah, so I had very similar situation. My two prior branches, and then this as a district, I don't have too many reps second jobs. So what I do when the times where I want them to work a little bit more, I just do the math for them. I show them how much they are making at the other job. Obviously, I build that relationship with them first, of course, and then I show them how much they make here, and then I break that down by the hour, right? By the hour, and then I show them the opportunity cost, so where they're losing money. Like I tell them, hey, listen, because on average, they make more here, even though they're making part-time. It's like, hey, listen, if you did like a couple more demos, this is how much money you would make, right? And they're like, oh, wow, really? I never thought about it that way. I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of my job to show you that way. And yeah, that's pretty much how I've been able to do it before in the past.
Cool. All right, guys. So it is 9:10 or 9:08. I want to respect everyone's time. If you have any further questions, please go to the Facebook group and just tag Gina, Bryan, or Darren, and they will absolutely answer your questions. It's been so much fun. This has been recorded, so we will be posting this on YouTube tomorrow. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night.